Welcome. I will now take you through the pure evolution of humanity's wonder. To reject the following is the same as to reject mathematics and logic itself. The following only relies on the combination of a few mathematically fundamental and universal rules. A single infinitely long set of truly random numbers must contain all finite sets of numbers in all orders, in all formats, and in all variations, an infinite number of times. Don't worry about all that jargon, just enjoy this short mind-expanding documentary about human experience. For thousands of years, humans have been left in the dark. Wandering, wondering, searching, asking, but never truly knowing. Only after centuries of mathematics, physics, and philosophy have we even begun to see a glimpse of something deeper, something foundational. For all of history, we have felt the weight of the unknown, asking questions we feared had no answer. What is reality? What am I? Where does everything come from? And why is there something rather than nothing? These are the questions that haunt every human mind. The unanswered mysteries that stretch far beyond the stars, and into the depths of our collective curiosity. But what if I told you that not only is there an answer, but that it is mathematical, absolute, and inescapable? Let that sink in, and take a moment to grasp that claim. That's right, the answer is mathematically proven. Let us talk about numbers. Numbers can describe anything. They are not just abstract symbols scribbled on paper, they are the very language in which the universe is written. Numbers describe particles, light, quarks, electrons. Their type, shape, size, direction, orientation, and position. They describe atoms, molecules, proteins, enzymes, DNA, bacteria, fungus, plants, insects, and animals. Numbers describe planets, suns, solar systems, black holes, galaxies, and the vast expanse of anything in the universe, including the universe itself. Numbers also describe the brain, and all of its thoughts, emotions, decisions, pain, love, and fear. Numbers describe mathematics, and all sciences. Simply put, everything you have ever encountered can be represented as a finite set of numbers. And everything can be represented in an infinite number of formats. So everything, anything, can be represented with numbers in an infinite number of ways. But why is this important? Because of one simple, profound, modern, groundbreaking idea. If we take a random number, and then another, and another, and another, continuing infinitely, then we have something very simple, an infinite list of random numbers. But how does this extremely simple list help us map out the entire universe, and more? Well, as long as each number is truly random, and the list never ends, any finite number system can be found within that list. So in the list, if you were to look for a sequence of 2 numbers, you would find it very quickly. A sequence of 5 numbers, you would also find very frequently. But even a list of 1 million numbers has to exist, pre-existing, within the infinite random set. This is not a theory, it is proven mathematics. If something can be described in numbers, it already exists somewhere in this infinite list. And if you go far enough, not only will you find it, but you will find every possible version of it, packed together in infinite variations. Somewhere in this list exists you, right now, listening to this documentary. Somewhere in this list exists every moment of your life, past, present, and future. This is the infinite random list, the mathematical foundation of all things. This is not speculation, this is absolute mathematical certainty. The infinite random list is static. But within this static structure is a set of numbers that represents motion, time, change, and perception. Nothing about the list moves in and of itself. However, movement through time and space is embedded within the list. It does not exist as frames laid out sequentially in a film. Instead, it exists in its entirety, every motion described in a fixed number set. This means that every possible version of you, from birth to death, is encoded within this dataset. The version of you listening to this right now will always be here, hearing these words, locked in this exact moment. The version of you 5 minutes ago is always 5 minutes ago, experiencing that part of the sequence. The version of you 5 years into the future is already there, experiencing that future moment eternally. Every moment exists forever, pre-existing within the infinite number set. Everything is happening at once. You do not create reality. You do not navigate reality, you only experience reality. Let's diverge and explain with a simple yet accurate metaphor using letters instead of numbers. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Now, I want you to imagine yourself sitting in an empty room. A blank desk before you, a single sheet of paper, and a pen in your hand. But this is no ordinary pen, and this is no ordinary task. Your job is to write, forever. Not words, not sentences, just letters. One after another, randomly chosen, endlessly placed in a list. A. G. M. T. E. X. H. R. You do not plan. You do not think. You simply let the letters flow from your hand, one after another, endlessly spilling into the void. At first, it is meaningless, a chaotic jumble of letters sprawling across the page. But soon, something happens. You begin to notice patterns. 3-letter words emerge from the random. Cat. Sun. Map. Short, simple structures appear with surprising frequency. And then, 4-letter words. Time. Book. Love. 5-letter words become rarer, but still, they form. Dream. Light. Space. You keep writing. 6-letter words. System. Wonder. Change. 7 letters. Gravity. Mystery. Thought. The longer the word, the more uncommon it becomes. But you do not stop. You keep writing. And suddenly, a short sentence appears. Then another. And another. At first, it is nonsense, but then real meaning emerges from the chaos. The sun is warm. The stars shine bright. The universe is vast. The words come together, forming paragraphs. Random letters, feeding into randomness, yet birthing structure. And as you continue, through eternity, you see books form. Not just any books. Books you recognize. Every book ever written. Every book of philosophy. Every scientific text. Every poem. All of it, sitting before you, back to back, in alphabetical order. Yet you are not done. Because you keep writing. And something impossible happens. You begin to see books that have never been written. Books from the future. Books from alien worlds. Books in languages you cannot begin to understand. Every possible variation of every book that ever could be. And then, you see something else. You see your name. You see a book that is impossible. A book that describes your entire life. Every thought, every moment, every word you have ever spoken. From the day you were born to the day you will die. Exact, down to the smallest detail. All of it was in the letters. All of it was there, in the random. Now, open your eyes. Because what you have just done with letters is exactly what happens with numbers. Except instead of writing letters, the universe writes in ones and zeros. Binary. The most efficient way to describe anything. Every word, every book, every life. All encoded in the simplest possible language. A language where anything that can be described, must be described. And here is the most profound part. The universe itself follows the law of least action. The rule that everything, every force, every law, will take the simplest, most efficient path. So the simplest description of a life, of a mind, of a reality, would not be the entire universe. It would be just the numbers needed to describe the experience of it. That means, that somewhere in the infinite random list, your life, in its entirety, exists, not as an abstract possibility, but as an absolute mathematical certainty. And so the question becomes, are you the writer? Or are you the words on the page? Are you creating? Or are you simply being read in the endless, inescapable, infinite list? Now, back to numbers. Let us go deeper. Imagine yourself from another reality. Now imagine yourself speaking to that version of you. Ask them a question, and watch them answer. Now consider this. Somewhere in the infinite random list, that person is real. They are imagining you right now, engaged in this thought experiment, saying the exact same words you are saying to them. How does this work? Is this just a mental exercise? No. Because this interaction can be described in numbers. And in the infinite random list, everything that can be described in numbers exists. It is not a possibility, it is an absolute certainty. When you imagine another version of yourself, they are real, and they are imagining you. Are you the dream? Or are you the one dreaming them? Or is the infinite random list dreaming all things at once? When we look at systems much smaller than ourselves, it becomes easier to see the randomness at work. The smaller the system, the more visible the probability distribution. A single electron has the smallest awareness available. No thoughts, no expectations. It follows the raw mathematical probability encoded within the infinite random list. An atom exists in greater numbers than a molecule. A molecule exists in greater numbers than a grain of sand. A grain of sand exists in greater numbers than a planet. A planet exists in greater numbers than a living system. A living system exists in greater numbers than intelligent life. The more complex a system, the less frequent its structured reality selection. Just as if finding 3 number sets is easier, or occurs more often in the random, than 6 number sets. This means that if intelligence is rarer than galaxies, then our nearest intelligent neighbor could be impossibly far away. If intelligence is more common than stars, then the universe should be teeming with thought. But no matter how rare or common something is, it exists in the list. Our very existence is the result of structured selection, within this infinite mathematical sea. This is not philosophy, it is proven mathematics. And you, as the observer, are in a superposition of the navigator and the passenger of this extraordinary journey. Unique to you, and an infinite subset of you. If you choose left, then you join the infinite set that chose left. And if you choose right, then you join the infinite set that chose right. But both infinite sets chose, and are experienced in their entirety. Stuck being a passenger to multi-layered logic within the random. And a navigator with multi-layered feedback within your thoughts and memory. And the same logic applies within the brain, because your unique brain and memory exist as a set of numbers as well. You don't know who you are, if you can't remember who you are. And so, the infinite regions of the random list, that is being observed or experienced from your perspective, is translated through the brain, as it is responsible for all of our quantized perception. The form of consciousness you experience, is experienced by the brain. And all of the brain's inputs, and outputs, and memory states, and the structure of the brain itself, from birth to death, exists in the numbers. Which suggests that the universe doesn't have to exist for you at all. It does exist, in its entirety. But certainly, there are systems of numbers out there that simply emulate all states of your brain, from birth to death. And therefore, represent an actual, experienced, life. And so, the pure random encodes pure structure. And pure structure decodes pure random. As you stand at the crossroads of choice, remember, every decision you make is a selection among an infinite set. Each is real and complete as the other. You are in a superposition of the navigator and the passenger. A unique observer, yet part of an infinite subset of observers. each choosing their own path through the endless, magnificent landscape of numbers. This version includes natural pauses for a dramatic, engaging delivery. Let me know if you want further refinements.